Before we start, ask me, where in this broad, wind-whipped world are you listening from? Is it still today where you are? Drop your country or city down in the comments. I love to know just how far away these old Western sounds can still be heard. Now sit down, friend, because this one's about a man who believed he'd long since buried Grace, until she crawled up through the snow, covered in blood and half alive. The snow had fallen for 3 days running, soft as ash, slow as sorrow. The world was the shape of a ghost's chapel, deserted, white, and still. John McCrae rode into it, bent double against the wind, coat whipping, hat low down, boots frozen stiff. He brought nothing from town but a sack of beans, a tin of coffee, and silence. Weeks had passed since he'd said more than a word. He never thought he would run into anyone out there, especially her. She was lying beside a cedar, half buried as if the earth itself was attempting to conceal her from death. Her dress was tattered, and just below her knee, blood flowered into the snow like ink in milk. Her breathing was shallow. Her face was proud and sharp, but concave with pain. Braids lay scattered upon her shoulder like rope that had been left too long in the storm. Comanche, he ought to have kept going. That's what any man would have done. But John sat there in the saddle, gazing, not breathing, not moving, like a man scanning the opening line of a story he's afraid to read the rest of. Then he got off. He folded her into his saddle blanket and picked her up, as if she were something already broken. She didn't move, not then. He coaxed his horse home, snow whirling around them, her body against his light, but not hollow. She bore more than blood and bone. At the cabin, he lit the lamp, added to the fire, and placed her before the hearth. He pulled off her soaked garments with hard hands made gentle, avoiding her gaze, muttering apologies she couldn't see. Her leg seethed with fever. The cut was deep metal, perhaps wood. He cleaned it in silence, bound it firmly with boiled rags, and prayed, not aloud, but somewhere deep within his chest, where grief resides. She stirred as he buttoned her into one of his mother's old nightgowns. Her hand moved, eyes fluttered, then sleep once more. Her eyelashes were like soot on snow. He sat in the rocker that night, just watching her breathe. By morning, the blizzard had passed. She wasn't. For 2 days she lingered between here and there. He fed her broth, changed the bandages, moved slow and steady, always careful. He hadn't been careful once before. Not when the raiders arrived. Not when they kidnapped his wife. He had been there like an idiot, rooted to the spot while everything he cherished was swept away into dust and silence. Perhaps this was penance. Perhaps lunacy. But he never ceased caring for the Comanche girl. On the 4th morning, she woke up. And when she saw him, it was like sunlight trapped in sap. Keen, golden, and unwavering. She saw him, truly saw him. He didn't say anything. Neither did she. He filled her with water. She drank, lips shivering along the edge of the tin cup. When she passed it back to him, her hand touched his. It wasn't cold. Not yet. That evening, she sat up. He offered stew. She refused. Her eyes drifted to the window. Snow still clung to the glass. She looked like she wanted to run. "You're safe," he said. His voice was worn, low, like it hadn't been used in years. She didn't respond, just stared at the fire. Her face was stone. She wrapped up in a ball like a wild animal waiting for the worst that night. John did not sleep. He simply listened, to the wind ripping at the walls and to thoughts ripping at his heart. What would the town say if they knew? What would his neighbors do? He recalled the expression in their eyes when they discovered his wife's bonnet along the creek. As if sympathy was an illness. And now, this girl wasn't his wife. Wasn't even his type. The following morning, she attempted to depart. He caught her at the door, tottering on unsteady feet. Her leg buckled. He grasped her, firm but gentle. "Your leg'll rip open again," he cautioned. She gazed up at him, air sharp, lips firm. Then, softly as wind in scrub, she spoke at last. "Vanya." It took him an instant to recognize that she was saying her name to him. He nodded curtly. John. She let him walk her back to the cot. Her pride never faltered. Even hurting, she went down as if still clenching her dignity hard in both fists. After that, they were no longer strangers with clenched jaws and sunken eyes. They had names. Days went by like ash in sunlight. Her wounds slowly healed. He held his distance. Cooked dinner, chopped firewood, mopped the floor. Left her food when he didn't think she'd notice. She ate in silence when he wasn't watching. But once, returning from the barn, he happened to see her drinking from his coffee can. She was frozen in shock. He simply nodded, as if nothing. He saw the way she gazed after the horse through the window, how her eyes lingered at the saddle. There was something about the freedom in the set of her shoulders, straight and square, like she hadn't yet learned to bow to the world. One bright morning, he extended the reins to her. No words, just a silent offer. She accepted. She hobbled to the horse, clumsy but determined, climbed on awkwardly, then steadied herself and rode a slow, elegant circle. When she emerged from the circle, their eyes met. No smile, no thank you. Just a silent exchange of something more difficult to identify. Respect, perhaps trust as fragile as thread. Winter started to release its hold. The chill stayed, but the atmosphere changed. One night, he listened to her humming low, wistful. The song curled around the cabin like memory. He didn't recognize the tune, but it lingered with him. That night, before sleep, she tossed a log onto the fire. A little thing, a subtle sort of thank you. He showed her the bed in the front room. She shook her head and remained beside the hearth. He ached to ask why, but questions were too heavy, too pointed. So he sat nearby, eating wordlessly, allowing her to maintain the silence on her own terms. At some point, while he stirred a pot of bubbling water, she broke the silence. Why? He glanced up. Why assist me? He continued stirring, slow and steady. Because once, I did not. When it counted. She gazed at his face for a long time. Your woman, she whispered. He nodded. She didn't pry further. But a little while later, she rolled up her sleeve and revealed a scar running along her forearm. They left me too, she said. And in that instant, the space between them disappeared. They weren't strangers anymore. But peace doesn't last long in the West. That evening, he caught sight of a figure standing among the trees. Just a flash of movement, a rider. Not white, not from town. He told Wania nothing. But in the morning, he greased his rifle. The days went on, one into another. She began to assist, sweeping, sorting through the beans, talking more. She explained to him how her folk had abandoned her when a raid went awry. A wound was a sign of weakness, and weakness did not exist in their world. She never wept about it. She spoke of her brother Takakota, a chief. And while the snow dissolved from the ridges, he found her frequently glancing at them, as if she waited. Then one day they arrived. A booming knock. John opened the door to 3 horsemen. At its center, a tall warrior with icy eyes and ice in his braids. Takakota. John stayed in the doorway like a wall. She's Comanche, the chief declared. She belongs with us. John remained silent. She lives because of you, Takakota continued. But she is not yours. Before John could say anything, Wania stepped outside. Her coat was clean. Her hair was plaited tight. Her legs shuddered, but her voice did not. She and Takakota chattered fast in Comanche. The other riders averted their eyes. Then Wania used a louder voice once only. I was not a captive, she said. I remained. Takakota's brow creased. You were recuperating. I remained, she said again. And I choose. The air cracked with silence. Takakota glanced at John. Do you claim her? John's chest constricted. She's free, he told her. She can leave if she wishes. Wania faced him, her face an unreadable mask. Takakota nodded. Then let her decide. And they departed, leaving her behind. John retreated indoors. Wania remained at the doorway, the horizon fading into pine. That evening she packed, folded the nightgown, made the cot neat, Let the fire smolder. At the doorway, she said but one thing, "You are kind." He nodded. She departed, and the cabin, once warm, felt hollow again. The wind louder, the coffee bitter. 3 days passed. Then he saw her through the frost-glazed window walking up the path. No horse, no coat, her hair wild, her cheeks raw from cold. She didn't knock. He opened the door. She stepped inside, took off her boots, sat near the fire. He poured her coffee. "I'll build," she said simply. He pointed. "Back ridge. Sheltered." She nodded. That spring, he observed her mold clay by the trees. Her hands were firm, her brow serene. She never requested assistance. He offered it anyway. By summer, her cabin was next to his. One morning, she arrived with berries. Their palms touched in the exchange. She met his gaze with warmth that didn't require explication. He smiled. Years later, a child would call to them from the porch, and neither would reply immediately, because some moments aren't meant to be hastened. Some silences no longer hurt. Some scars just cease to hurt. Perhaps you've known one such silence. One that seared before it healed. Perhaps you've borne something broken. Or perhaps once you were the one in the snow, praying someone would stop. If this tale moved you, there's one more waiting on the screen, even more powerful. Because out here in the Wild West, grace still finds the forgotten.